Hey everybody, Neon here. So today I'm going to be looking at one of my favorite gaming franchises, Call of Duty. I'm going to be looking at Modern Warfare 3 and why it has united the community against it and the publishers Activision. I'm going to be taking a look at the campaign, the multiplayer, the Warzone, and the new zombies mode that is. Alright, so to start, we're going to look at the campaign. So this was probably the biggest letdown of the game this year, was the fact that they had a campaign at all. To give a little bit of background, Modern Warfare 3 was originally going to just be a add-ons pack to Modern Warfare 2. There was not going to be a new release for 2023, but at the last second, Activision did a hard 180 and said, no, you know what, we're releasing a game and you're going to get a campaign and new zombies experience with it. However, the short notice of all of this put a lot of players on edge and had them thinking, what did Activision actually have in store? And people were right to be on edge, because what we received was just uninspired level design, lazy missions, crappy enemy AI, empty environments, and not to mention too, it's just a very short campaign. I didn't complete it on launch. I got a few missions in and then got super bored and just waited for the multiplayer to release. I just completed it today to get gameplay for this video, and it did not take me that long, and the missions were pretty boring, just being a lot of walking through very nice scenery. I will admit the game looks beautiful. However, that does not make up for lack of depth in terms of gameplay. I sped up a ton of the gameplay that you see before you today as well, just to get through a lot of the walking and boring gameplay aspects, like just shooting enemies that run at you from behind cover. Now, a lot of you might be saying, but Neon, who buys a Call of Duty game to just play the campaign? Well, to be fair, you can buy the game and do whatever you want with it. If Activision is going to sell a campaign, they better make a decent one or put in an effort. Because some people will buy the game just because it has a campaign, and Activision knows that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have included it, just like Treyarch didn't do with Black Ops 4. However, Activision tried to dip their toes into every pool and tried to appeal to as many players as possible. I feel bad for all the people that paid $70 just to get a 4 to 3 hour campaign. That's if you're going through it at a snail's pace, you get lost a couple times along the way, and maybe take a nap. It is not a deep campaign, it is not a fulfilling campaign to play. It just leaves you feeling very hollow. Like, you know that not a lot of time was allocated to create this. It all just feels like they stitched together DMZ missions and some cutscenes and called it a day with the campaign. The story is also nothing to write home about. Basically being the same Modern Warfare formula of, we need to go get the missiles. We need to stop this person from doing this by doing these 3 side quests. It's just a big repeat of the same plots that we had before, just the missiles have more explodey bits on them or have stronger gas. It's nothing creative, it's nothing new, it's not used in a unique or creative way. It's just the bad guy has a pointy bomb, we need to go stop him. With all that as well, with the wide open maps, you would think it would give you unique ways of tackling the same mission. However, none of that is present. The only reason I feel the map is open is to pad out the length of the game. Thank God they let you parachute and drive vehicles, otherwise the campaign would have taken way longer than it should have. It already feels like it's taking way too long. If you take out all the walking and the running, it's a very short campaign. It's the same as taking out all the slow-mo from 300, just shortens the movie drastically. I feel terrible for people who bought this game just to play the campaign. The good thing is that it seems not a lot of people got tricked into buying this, considering this game has the lowest sales number out of any of the Modern Warfare Remastered trilogy. So it seems players are wisening up, and them releasing the campaign early was kind of a big mistake, and it really showed how little effort they put into the campaign, and that was just a small sign as to how the rest of the game was gonna turn out. So if you want to buy Modern Warfare 3 for a campaign, don't do it. Buy literally any other Call of Duty, and if you're looking at this video, you probably own the other Call of Duties, so just play any of those for a much better campaign experience. Since Activision didn't spend any more time on the campaign, I won't either. Let's move on. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the multiplayer portion of the game. It is much improved from Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 3 was something that everyone in the community had to suffer through. The super slow movement and the instant time to kill was something that a lot of players hated and did not like. So I want to go over a few things that the game did right. So the first thing I want to talk about, the movement. Quicker slide canceling and sprint to fire speeds, quicker mantling and strafe speeds, combined with a perk to buff almost any aspect of this, has led to gung fu like gunfights that turn into short dances between two players as they try to outslide, outmaneuver, and outstrafe each other. This leads to more exhilarating gameplay that is compared to the Rainbow Six Siege like gameplay that we had to endure for Modern Warfare 2, along with little quality of life changes like a stamina bar. Yay! Although this is only in zombies and multiplayer, it somehow is not in Warzone. Please add that. Next, I'm moving on to something that I'm glad is out of here, the gun tuning. I'm so glad this is gone. I really felt like this held back the create a class system, especially for new players. You having to shuffle through tons of attachments, and then on top of that having to tune those attachments that you had to spend time scrolling. I know a lot of people complain that there are tons of scopes. I also like the new feature they added with being able to favorite attachments, although I think mine is broken because I'm only able to favor 6 out of the 10 slots that I have, so that is potentially a glitch there. Also, the fact that with the weapon tuning being gone, we have advanced stats allowing you to quickly see and really visualize and calculate how you are affecting your gun versus having just a slider and a pie chart that moved in certain directions and didn't really give you a good enough indication of what was needed to get changed. On top of this, the system was proven by YouTubers like Exclusive Ace to be barely effective at all, not really reducing sprint to fire speeds or recoil the way the attachment says it would, or the way the weapon tuning makes it seem like with that pie chart change. So in conclusion, thank God weapon tuning is gone, and I hope it never returns in Call of Duty. Honestly, just for the scope so you can adjust far and close, that is all that is needed. Everything else can just stay buried. Alright, now to move on to something else the game really improved on were the guns. These new 36 guns feel overall way better than any of the Modern Warfare 2 guns do. They have lower recoil, both visual and actual, low muzzle flash, and way less smoke, along with less gun shake. This improves accuracy over range, and combined with the long time to kill, which also is a good improvement, leads to you having to be more accurate and it being possible because now your guns aren't shaking all over the place and your bullets are going pretty much pinpoint to where you're aiming down sight. However, that is a double-sided coin. This has led to the Modern Warfare 2 guns pretty much being left in the dust in terms of usability and viability. Yeah, you could use them and most likely you'll be comfortable with them, but the new guns are just way leagues above those in terms of recoil control and visual gun shake, that using the Modern Warfare 2 guns, unless you're doing camo challenges, is more of a handicap. The only real guns that are viable from Modern Warfare 2 were the guns that were absolutely top tier in that game, like the TAC 56 and the Vel 46, which I still see being used every once in a while in Warzone and multiplayer. I was really hoping that with this game, they would retune those guns to bring them in line to behave more like the Modern Warfare 3 guns do. And as of the Season 1 Reloaded update, nothing has been changed. That update comes out in about a week or so. So we'll see if they bring any of those guns back up or change them. They say throughout the beginning of the life cycle of this game that it is something they want to do, is rebalance all the old guns to bring them more in line. But obviously they don't want you using any of those old guns in the very beginning of the game. They want you to use the new things that they had been working on so they can get those things balanced and checked out, which is pretty fair to me. I just hope that they don't forget about the old guns, as some of those like the Lockman sub, the Raw MG are really fun to use, and I don't want to feel like I'm holding myself back using older weapons that are really inferior to what we have received now. Another thing that the game does right is the perks and vests. So now you don't have the basic perk system from Modern Warfare 2 that had you charge a perk during the game, which is absolutely ridiculous. If I earn the perk by leveling up, I should have it accessible at every point in the game. I have already leveled up to earn it. Why do I have to earn it again while I'm playing? It is a dumb system, and I'm glad they changed it now, but it should have been changed when the game released or even before it released, since that system was in the beta. God, Modern Warfare 2 really was just a giant slap in the face to players. The fact that now we have vests and gear instead of just only perks is pretty good too. You can make different combinations with each vest, and some vests lock out some pieces of gear while other vests give you an extra piece of gear. Also, a lot of the gear and vest have some of the similar attributes. So you can have the infantry vest, the most basic vest. It gives you increased sprint tactical duration, or you could equip the lightweight boots, which do the same thing. It does also tell you cannot stack them, or it will give you a different effect. You cannot stack something to get a ton of sprint speed or to get a ton of strafing speed. You would have to also adjust your gun's attachments for that. So far the vests are looking pretty good, but of course it didn't take long for something to ruin it. The introduction of the assassin's vest, pretty much neglecting and being stronger than the Ghost HV perk, caused a lot of uproar in the community, and it basically created a camper's safe haven. Also, another piece of gear that completely breaks the game is the covert sneakers. These boots, along with the vest, allow you to be off the radar and off of players' headsets, pretty much neglecting two senses that the players use to locate other enemies. This leads to players being able to be essentially invisible to everything that is in sight. Pair this with an overpowered skin like the Mother Gaia skin that is almost translucent, or the Black Noir skin that has no voice lines. He doesn't speak at all and he is fully black in armor, leading him to blend in with darker environment. These skins combined with these new mechanics in the game are something that is just not blending well together, and I could see why they had them in the Modern Warfare 2, as in that game you couldn't fully neglect footsteps. You had to have a field upgrade, and the UAV was pretty much broken for most of the game, so it didn't matter if you ran Ghost or a suppressed weapon because you would appear on the minimap no matter what. I do think that some of these skins should either get updated or removed, like maybe make Mother Gaia's core brighter and add louder footsteps to Black Noir or something. I mean, he is a soup. He is pretty strong and heavy. He should have heavier footsteps than most. There need to be balances and checks for these skins and these mechanics. I really feel they should have just copied the piece of gear Ghost B, because it was very annoying that they made the vest more powerful than that perk, basically neglecting that perk's entire existence. So you can just run that vest. You get a lethal and a frag. You get one piece of gear. And you can run the covert sneakers, pretty much taking you off of players' headsets, making your footsteps completely silent. Overall, the perk system is a big improvement over what we got in Modern Warfare 2, but it still has a lot of things that need to get tweaked out. Mainly the fact that there's an overpowered vest, overpowered boots, and comparatively all the gloves and other boots are very weak. Other video tests have shown that they have little to no effect on helping things like your sliding, gun swap speed, or even your gun reload speed. So a lot of these perks and pieces of gear need balancing and fixes. I hope Sledgehammer is able to get on it quickly. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the map. The maps that got brought back look amazing. They are very faithful recreations, and with the new movement are leading to a lot of players finding new ways to move around, and is making even some of the bigger maps more tolerable to play on. However, bad maps are still bad maps. Maps like Derail, Estate, and Wasteland still get often skipped in the rotation unless multiple people just want to do long shots for their weapon. However, there only being 14 recreated maps, no new maps on arrival, is leading to the game becoming stale for people very quickly, especially if they're returning from the original Modern Warfare 2 2009, because they are very faithful recreations. They're almost the exact same. They just have updated signage and a few doors added in, and maybe one or two routes have changed. But other than that, the maps all pretty much play the exact same. A lot of returning players said they were able to jump in and just use the same routes they had ran back in the day, and they still work. Along with that, the maps on release were broken, especially with a lot of the new to the map game modes like Hardpoint and Kill Confirmed. They got so bad it caused the map quarry to get removed during the first few weeks of the game being out, because people were just spawning next to each other, on top of each other, and with a huge map like that, it should not be happening at all. It's understandable on maps like Shipment, maybe Rust a little bit, but on maps like Quarry, you should not be revenge spawning or spawning next to the enemy team. This, paired with a relatively easy camo grind this year, only having to do 36 weapons, has led to the game getting stale for a ton of players very quickly. Most of the time, a good camo grind is enough to hold over a player, but this year's it was quick. I was able to complete it in about 2 to 3 months, when usually it takes me the whole year to finish a camo grind. And I didn't even finish Modern Warfare 2's that's because I didn't want to get 7 million long shot kills. This year's camo grind is much easier. The Interstellar camo actually looks super good, and I'm putting it on all my guns. In conclusion, with Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer, there are many improvements from Modern Warfare 2, but I think we can all agree that all this improvements that were made to the game were just things that shouldn't have been changed from Modern Warfare 1 to 2 to begin with. Things like slide canceling getting removed, super quick time to kill, the slow movement, and the things like the minimap getting removed, none of that should have been gone in the first place. All that this was just them changing things back. And it really sucked that Infinity Ward didn't do this. They just chose to ignore the community, chose to ignore our cries for them to change simple things back to the way they were. They just didn't do it. It took a whole year and Sledgehammer coming in to have to revert things back to what the players wanted. And no, I don't think Activision or Infinity Ward deserves praise for that. They did not take Modern Warfare 2 in the right direction, and upon seeing that, they should have been able to make the changes that the players want. I understand not changing everything to the way players want, because some players really are hard to please, but the fact that they didn't even listen to the community, to the YouTubers, to probably the people that they were endorsing, like streamers and other players, it just showed that Infinity Ward doesn't care about the community. It really doesn't care about Call of Duty. And all of this is before I talk about some of the real issues in the game that are making it borderline unplayable. So let's talk about engagement optimized matchmaking, also known as skill-based matchmaking. Oh, where to begin with this shit? This is something that does not help the state of the game one bit, but Activision seems to be sticking to it like white on rice. So basically what this is, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, but to give you guys a quick rundown for those who don't know, skill-based matchmaking is a matchmaking system that uses AI technology to pair you up with a player of similar skill levels, and engagement-based optimized matchmaking is something that sees your games played, both previous and current game that you're playing, to see, oh, you did really good last game, time to bump you up and put you into a higher bracket. It's basically like if you did really good in base classes in school, so they put you into AP classes where everybody was in a league of their own. That's exactly how this feels, but unfortunately it isn't something that you choose, unlike picking AP classes. This is all something the game does automatically in the background, and it's something that the developers, both Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, and the publishers Activision, are super hush-hush on. It is something that they did not want to bring up. They tweeted out, I believe 2 months ago that they were gonna do a discussion when season 1 dropped, do a Q&A about it, because every time they did a Q&A related to Modern Warfare 3's release or details about the game, every comment in their comment section was just flooded with, when is skill-based matchmaking gonna get removed? When are you guys gonna talk about skill-based matchmaking? And to this day, they haven't said a word on it. They've been fully quiet. Season 1 came and rolled away. They haven't said anything. We're on the cusp of season 1 reloaded update, and they still have not said anything. This is one of those things where I hate it being in the game simply for the reason that I don't want to sweat super hard when I'm playing multiplayer. Multiplayer is more of a casual experience. That's why they have ranked. If there's skill-based matchmaking in ranked, go for it. You're picking it. You're picking to have a more challenging experience to get more of a reward because you are playing against a harder team. You win, you gain points, and eventually at the end of the season, you'll gain your reward for beating players that were on your skill level due to whatever you use, like game knowledge or weapon maneuver. But it being in base quick play multiplayer and manipulating you to only let you have fun every 1 game out of 4 is not a good. This just leads to the majority of games being lost or won with the difference of 1 to 2 points. So a 200 point score of domination will end on a 199 versus 200 score on the regular. And this also is something you can pretty much time. If you find yourself having 1 game where you're just destroying everybody and you get over a 1.5 or 2 KD, the next few games you're going to be playing against some Call of Duty professionals that are competing for a 100k World Cup, and if you don't play on that level, you don't have a chance at winning. This is something the community has constantly begged for Activision to remove from the game and to implement something else, any other system that would work, but they have repeatedly ignored our cries and pleas. At this point, if they just want to do what they want to do, then that's fine, but they can't get mad when players decide to leave because 2/3 of their game is underdeveloped, underutilized, and it's just thrown together for a quick cash grab. At this point, multiplayer is a fun experience, especially if you can get a bunch of friends together. But once you finish things like the camel grind, if you're even able to do that, and unless you're able to jump over the hurdle of manipulative game tactics to get you to keep playing longer instead of them just making a good game to keep you playing longer, that's a big red flag for me. Because instead of keeping you around with good content, a good story, making you care about the characters, they're relying on you having cared about them at one point with the older Call of Duty games and just riding on nostalgia. Like, yes, we care about Captain Price, Ghost, Soap, all these characters because they were in older games, and we love those games because we saw the love that got put into them. We don't care about them just because you brought them back, got similar voices and all this other stuff. Like, it's cool that they're back, it's great, but if the stories you guys put them in are very badly written or very underdeveloped, then those characters are just shells. They're just husks. They're just there to look cool and to remind you of a better time that you had in the past. It's all just nostalgia bait. And even with all these maps coming back, even the war map only had a part of it that was unique. The rest of it was just from Modern Warfare Remastered, part of that map. So multiplayer almost had no ounce of originality this year. All the maps being reused is great. If you are someone that never played the original Modern Warfare 2, the maps are fun. They look great. They are way better designed than things we got in Modern Warfare 2. But other than that, the game is going to get very boring for you very quickly. The engagement-based optimized matchmaking is going to ruin whatever fun you try to have. Not only this, but there were a ton of gun glitches in the game, just like the jack rifle barely being available. This is an aftermarket part kit for the tier revolver pistol that basically turned it into like a mini rifle that just became available as of a few days before recording this. And it's pretty fun, but this being unavailable for the better part of almost a month is really disappointing, along with the fact that there are still some visual gun glitches, like a few that I'm sure you guys have encountered with the Punyat LMG, where it just seems to kind of turn into a canted scope every time you fire, aim down sight, and it only happens a few times before correcting itself, but it will cause you to lose a few gunfights. I've also had this problem on the Renetti Jack Rabbit kit. So at that point, it's just really weird that though these guns feel great in the hand, they feel great in terms of handling, but these random glitches just don't add anything when it's all the same engine. So it should all be similar. Why are we getting these glitches that we weren't getting in Modern Warfare 2? Why all of a sudden are they here? And once you understand how that works, you know the manipulation is very blatant. Unfortunately, that's all I have to say for multiplayer this year. It is a letdown. It has its fun moments, it has beautiful maps and guns, it has good movement, but the blatant level of manipulation is just too much to deal with. I see why players are jumping ship even after having purchased the game for $70. It is just not worth your sanity to try and fight a system that is rigged against you and rigged so you don't have fun when you want to and have fun. You're about to log off to keep you playing a little bit longer. Alright, now moving on to the next aspect of the game, Warzone, the free-to-play part of the game, the most controversial part of the game, the Fortnite ripoff of the game. Alright, so in all seriousness, I didn't get a chance to experience Warzone 1, I only played 2 and 3, it wasn't really my cup of tea back then. But I've gotten more into it recently with the release of Warzone 2 and Warzone 3. The game mode is fun with a set of friends, or if every player has a mic, it can really be torn down by even one player in a trio or quad not having a mic, because a lot of those players just end up wandering around and doing their own thing, whatever it is that they're doing, which is not sticking with the team or helping your team out, but they will just wander off and not use any pings, not call for help. The moment they down or die, they back out, leaving you a 3 or 2 man squad in trios or quads, and that could cost you the game if you're not amazing or cheating, which I'll get into a little bit later. But for now, the one thing that isn't helping in Warzone is again the same thing that doesn't help multiplayer, which is engagement based match. It trying to put you on the same tier as other players will only breed a more stressful gaming environment where you have to be locked in or at 110% or sweating up a river, or you will not get anywhere near the top 10. If you don't do all that, then you better be ready to out camp your enemy even harder than they are camping, because poking your head out or walking out into an open area is a death sentence with one hit down snipers, or even if they don't one hit down you, they'll get you within an inch of your life, and then the enemy team just has to fart in your general direction to down you. If you are also not using the most meta class loadouts that you find on the internet, then you are also not competing. These people will spend hours just crafting the most meta guns to outplay you and win in the situation. This game mode is not a game mode made to have fun, even though there is ranked. It is the same problem as in multiplayer, especially with the matchmaking system. You will just get put against players who are trying way harder than you, play the game for way longer, or are just straight up using things like Acronis or DMA inputs or macros to get an edge on you. And that's just in regular Warzone and Resurgence too. The competitive edge inside of it is much worse. Most of the streamers that you see online that are streaming the game are cheating on things like TikTok and Kick. There are blatant cheaters literally on the stream with big letters stating cheating, macros, or whatever they're using. That is unacceptable, and unfortunately with the DMA systems, there is nothing that can be done since it is hardware. It is something that was intended to give help to disabled players, to let them play any game that they want to be able to play regardless of their disability, and has now been taken over by scumbags that are using it to improve, air quotes, improve their gameplay, or to just gain clout for whatever it's worth. The amount of cheating in this game and the fact that now it's more accessible than ever is really gonna be the last nail in the coffin, I feel, for Call of Duty. The resurgence mode is pretty fun. That lets you revive. It's pretty much just like Battle Royale, but it lets you come back with a timer. But this just leads to you killing the same person over and over and over, and leading to final circles having up to 14 players, or maybe more or less. So it is fun to a certain extent, but gets stale once you keep getting into the same gunfights with the same enemy teams that just keep coming back to try and get you, because you guys all landed in the same spot. You won all the gunfights fair and square, but they won't get off your helmet. Versus in something like Battle Royale, where they'll have to retreat because they can't just come back in 30, 40, 50 seconds. They have to be bought back. So Battle Royale is definitely a more chill experience than Resurgence, but with, like I said, with all the hacking going on and with it not being able to get caught by things like the Ricochet anti-cheat, and with us having to rely on reporting players and not even being sure if they are hacking most of the time. This leads to some really good players who have real skill in the game being worried about being shadow banned or reported due to them just having really good snaps or being able to target enemies and follow them really well. Now more than ever, I feel it's important to watch your kill feed to make sure that you see how that enemy killed you, to make sure they didn't do anything that would be out of the ordinary. Thank you to people like Call of Shame for reporting cheaters and streamers, but unfortunately those are only the people that are streaming, and even if they are streaming, the people that are getting caught are most of the time the most popular. So they are not the majority, they are the few. And unfortunately, it falls on us, the community, to have to catch scumbags like this in our own games, and nothing that the real anti-cheats or even YouTubers can do about it. It's quite sad that we went from things like modded controllers to be able to fire your gun a little bit quicker, to not having a whole modded unit on a PC just to get clips for Call of Duty to get some likes on the internet. It is just super sad, and if these players spent as much time cheating and sitting there playing a game on easy mode as they did just getting better at the game, we would actually have respect for them. And if they were able to show up at LAN events, then that would be great too. But they can't. They all bunch up and join in on events. They get booted to the very top of the leaderboard. They get placed in the finals, and they just camp around. And most recently, the big fiasco with streamers sharing the Warzone Cup is something that is just super scummy and honestly expected out of those people. So honestly, the streamer community is not one to look up to. It isn't one to be trusted, at least not the biggest, toppest Warzone streamers that are at the very tippy top of the game. Warzone is in a terrible place right now for it being the free-to-play aspect of the game. The fact that it is riddled with cheaters and that they only seem to be caring about pushing microtransactions down players' throats, whether you paid money for the game or not, is just blatantly showing that Activision at this point is trying to become a skin generating company instead of a game company. They would rather allocate millions of dollars to getting a license for a character, putting that character in perfect effect into the game, and then releasing that for $30, $40, $20 versus actually putting in. All right, now to talk about the last part of this game, the zombies. The new zombies experience is pretty much just what we got in Vanguard or DMZ, with zombies and a couple mercenaries scattered in. This game is a contract simulator. You essentially do the same 4 to 5 contracts on the map and nothing else. There's really nothing else to do. Kind of go into things called strongholds, which have slightly harder enemies for better loot, but the loot is honestly not really worth it most of the time. It's just a few guns that aren't even that powerful. You can get lucky and get a few good things, but most of the time it's nothing too crazy for what the work you have to do to clear out said stronghold. Honestly, the contracts wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't for the fact that zombies and getting kills for zombies only gets you like 10 points a kill. Special zombies, I believe, give you 50 or 100, but they do not give you any points for killing zombies. You have to kill tons of zombies just to be able to buy one hit of the mystery box, and that, with the contracts being super repetitive, is leading to this game mode getting super boring super quickly. All this pretty much essentially makes you rely on the fact that you have to have these blueprints or schematics that you earn in the game that let you pretty much start the game with a wonder weapon, a level up key, a pack-a-punch crystal, or perks. You can pretty much just craft whatever you want and jump into the game starting with it. However, depending on the rarity of the item, it can take from 3 hours to 2 days to be able to use those schematics again. I see what they were going for by kind of making this like gobblegums where you can use them pre-game or to get an advantage in-game, but this just makes it essentially a grind, since you would rather grind out these crystals in a game than just complete contracts and get kills to lead you into getting the Easter egg completed or the final boss completed. There is no Easter egg on this map. There is just missions or acts, which are kind of like objectives you can do on the side. They're pretty much just like challenges. They require to get kills with certain weapon types, weapon ammo types, pack-a-punch, not pack-a-punch. And then at the end they give you a little reward or so. This game mode is pretty fun when you play it alone, but it really shows how it's meant to be played with friends, or at least a whole team. Going into tier 1, it is very easy. You know, the enemies take 2 to 3 bullets to kill, almost not mattering what gun it is. You can do challenges pretty quickly. The enemies are not hard to take down at all, but you don't get a lot of points from the contract. You're getting 2,000. Once you jump into tier 2, that's when things start getting